Well, on Saturday, Istanbul will welcome the leaders of France, Russia, and Germany for a summit on Syria. The event comes just 1 month after Moscow and Ankara brokered a deal to create a demilitarized zone in Idlib, the last rebel stronghold against the Assad regime. Now, to talk more about what this conference could achieve, let's speak to Omer Ozkizilcik. He is the editor of Turkey's Suriye Gundemi, or Syrian Agenda, news website. Thanks so much for speaking to us. First, let's establish just how much you're actually looking forward to this conference. How high are your expectations?
So this summit is really important as the two main actors in the European Union, France and Germany, are taking place in the summit, and the two major actors of the Astana process, Turkey and Russia, are also there. So we have the ones who have the money for rebuilding and reconstruction Syria, and the ones who are effective on the ground, Russia on the Assad regime and Turkey on the Syrian opposition side. And I think coming of the European states into the Syrian crisis is really important, as they were massively involved at the beginning of the crisis, but they went out of the crisis and ignored it for a long time until this refugee crisis. And now this reconstruction and rebuilding summit in Istanbul will help also the Syrians on the ground and the European Union and Turkey to enforce some concessions from the Assad regime for democracy and freedom.
Okay,
in exchange for support and money for rebuilding Syria.
Okay, so having France and Germany at the table really does matter here to you, but a primary goal seems to be the creation of a constitutional committee. What do you think that would serve for, and how realistic do you think it is that they will be able to establish one?
So the Constitution Committee was actually a Russian move to bring the discussion away from Assad's being pushed out of power to writing a new constitution. And I think I'm really critical about a new constitution committee to solve the Syrian crisis. As we have seen in Iraq, a new constitution alone isn't enough to solve a crisis. There needs to be a peace process, there needs to be a transition process which would be accepted by the most majority of the people in Syria and would be able to end the war and the crisis. And we know that the Assad regime is still killing civilians in prisons, and they have massively tortured civilians in prisons, and their bombing only stopped because of Turkey's presence on the ground. And there are still many challenges and difficulties for all parties in Syria to make peace there, actually. And I don't think that a new constitution will be the ultimate solution for this crisis.
And then where do you think the priority of this conflict should be? I mean, I'm sorry, of this conference should be, if not on establishing this constitutional committee we've been hearing so much about?
So the main priority should be on Assad regime and its crimes. So it has to be stopped that the Assad regime still tortures civilians in its prisons. It was agreed in the Astana process that civilians should be released from the prisons, but they haven't been until yet. And the opposition who demanded the release of their relatives from prisons only get a list of people who were killed actually in prisons by torture. So I think this is a major issue. And also the transition of power and Assad accepting an opposition. We still heard that the representatives of the Assad regime call the Syrian opposition as terrorists, and even the most legitimate moderate opposition is for them a terrorist group and guy. And we also see that representatives of the Assad regime declared that they have a list of 3 million terrorist people in Syria. So this is a number which couldn't be true. This is too much exaggeration of the realities, and equating opposition to terrorism is the major obstacle to find a solution for Syria.
Okay. Omer Ozkizilcik, thank you so much for joining us there from Ankara. We appreciate it.